Welcome to Infinity Reviews. Oh no! Oh my god! No way! Oh, it's Sabretooth! Oh, look at these fights! Hey guys, what is up? I just got done watching Deadpool and Wolverine, the new Marvel Cinematic Universe film, one of the most highly anticipated films of the year and of the summer. And I gotta tell you guys, the movie was great. It was absolutely great. Everything I wanted from the film. Now, this review is going to be a non-spoiler review because the movie just came out and I'm not about to give a super spoilery review right now. The spoiler review is going to go up later where we're going to talk about everything to the cameos, to the things I don't want to talk about because I want you guys to go see it for yourself because this is a movie you need to go see. Not just because it's a Marvel movie, just because it is a good time in cinema. And, you know, if you are an X-Men fan, if you love that side of Marvel, of the Marvel comics, you know, X-Men, you know, Deadpool, you know, this is a movie for you. You know, I kind of look at it as it is a love letter to that era of X-Men movies over at Fox, you know, trying to honor everything that happened over there. You know, if that's to the cameos, which we're not going to talk about, and if it's to honoring Hugh Jackman's legacy as Wolverine, where he gets to play a very different Wolverine in the film. Now, I'm going to tell you the basic premise of the story, the non-spoiler version of the premise of the story. So the premise of the story is, so Deadpool, you know, I think it's about 5 to 6 years have passed since Deadpool 2. Deadpool is, Wade Wilson's working at a car dealership where he's like trying to live his best life, trying to be normal. He's hung up the costume, and that is where we meet the TVA. As the TVA take him from his timeline because they want to save Deadpool and put him somewhere else until he realizes that the TVA is tricking him. The TVA actually are destroying his universe. Their universe is destroying because they said every universe has an anchor being, and since Wolverine was the anchor being in Deadpool's universe, now that universe is ceasing to exist. Because without that being, you know, the one that kind of is the center of that universe, that one person who has to be center is now dead. So basically Deadpool's mission is like, okay, I'm going to go replace this anchor being with a different Wolverine. And, you know, we've seen the trailer, he goes, finds, you know, the Wolverine in the comic accurate costume, the yellow suit. Well, they make a little joke about that. And then he's thrown into the void, and, you know, a bunch of stuff happens. We meet Cassandra Nova, you know, who is the twin of Charles Xavier, and they do her comic origins where he strangled her, Charles, like in the womb, and you know, when she was little, you know, she was transported to the void because she was too dangerous to exist out about time. And, you know, this is not just a story of, you know, Deadpool, you know, trying to save the world. This is a story about really Deadpool and Wolverine. You know, I believe every Deadpool movie, no matter how you look at it, every Deadpool movie we've gotten is a love story. You know, the first Deadpool, you know, is about Wade Wilson, you know, trying to get the love of his life back, even though how he looks, you know, him discovering, like, it doesn't matter how he looks. Like, if someone really loves you, they'll love you no matter what, without your differences. And then the second one was about him losing his love. He's like, what do you do afterwards? What is your purpose in life when you lose the person that you were living your entire life for? Your purpose for being is no longer there. This movie, you know, it's basically, we've seen the trailers, you know, no spoiler here, that Deadpool and Vanessa have broken up, you know, and the whole thing in the movie is that Vanessa wants Wade to do something meaningful. Like, what is your life gonna mean? What have you done that's gonna make you special, Wade? And that's kind of what they want to do. And, like, he feels like he doesn't deserve Vanessa because he hasn't done anything meaningful. That's why he hangs up the costume. And, you know, this is him discovering, you know, that he doesn't have to save the world alone. You know, he just has to be him. You know, no one wants him to be different. You know, he needs to accept who he is. And, you know, of course, we could kind of go through the same decision with Wolverine. Wolverine, you know, non-spoiler here, you know, something happens to him that we've talked about before, you know, in the comics it's happened before, him, like, kind of losing everyone he loved in this world. And, you know, him blaming himself for it. And, you know, this is a Wolverine who's not the Wolverine from the universe we know. This is a Wolverine who's jaded. Wolverine, who wants to die, who doesn't see anything in life worth living for. And these two kind of come together because they're similar in many ways, but they also are different, And I think they make a great pair. And then they have to save the universe together. That's the essence of the story. So let's go through the characters now, with the non-spoiler kind. We're going to talk about the characters. We're going to talk about characters, non-cameo characters. That's for the spoiler review. So let's talk about Wade Wilson, Deadpool first. Ryan Reynolds, of course, Ryan Reynolds in the movie, as Deadpool is great. The jokes he's telling are landing. There are some jokes where I didn't laugh, but almost all the time I was laughing my ass off on this theater. This movie, Deadpool is still Deadpool. It's not Disney-fied. It's still Deadpool, which I love. It's probably even more Deadpool than the other Deadpool movies. There's no filter on this one. There's no bleeped out words bleeped out. There's no soft transition to a nicer Deadpool. No, this is just Deadpool being Deadpool. Him swearing, breaking the fourth wall all the time, having a good time. One of my favorite things in the film, it's not a cameo thing. It's not anything like that. It's the opening sequence. The opening sequence to Deadpool movies have always been the greatest thing. And, it's the opening sequence, we see Deadpool, he goes and looks over Logan's grave. The movie literally starts as you guys didn't think we're not going to touch Logan. Fuck no, we're touching Logan. And, he goes to find the body of Wolverine from Logan, and it turns out he's actually dead. And then the opening sequence turns into a fight sequence where Deadpool is using Logan's dead body to fight the TVA while NSYNC is saying, and it's so great because it goes so well with the fight scene because Deadpool's also doing some NSYNC dance moves at the same time in between these fights, and I was really looking forward to see what the opening was, and this topped all the other openings. This is now my favorite opening for a Deadpool movie because the first one is so iconic because of the song they chose in there. The second one, they had Celine Dion do a song. Now you got NSYNC. It's oh my god, it is great. It is really, really great. And Deadpool, Ryan Reynolds, I think, is Deadpool. Just as much as Hugh Jackman is Wolverine, I think Deadpool is now probably one of the second most popular X-Men characters in my opinion now, because of his movies. Everyone loves Deadpool. Everyone, when you think of Deadpool now, you think of Ryan Reynolds. He has made this character his own, just as much as Hugh Jackman made Wolverine his own. And, seeing the way, that Deadpool plays in this movie, how he's still, that Marvel knew who Deadpool was, they knew what the Deadpool movies were. Like I said, they are love stories. It's about love. It's always about the love between Wade Wilson and Vanessa, and they kept that to the core of the movie. Now let's move on to the second most important character in this movie, Hugh Jackman's Wolverine. All of us, I think remember that 2000s X-Men movie, and when we saw Wolverine, when I watched that for the first time as a kid, I had never watched anything else in the X-Men. I'd never seen anything else X-Men except that first movie when I was a kid. And ever since I've watched that, I've only really seen Hugh Jackman as Wolverine. And, I've seen every single X-Men movie. I've seen the good and the bad. And, Wolverine has always been this person, he's a bit, he's an animal, he's a bit angry, he's always kind of the guy's he's kind of the guy who thinks he's better than everyone else, and, he's also Mr. Steal Your Girl in those movies, talking about Gene and Scott, but, this is not the same Wolverine that we've seen before. This is a very different Wolverine, we're seeing a Wolverine, who really just, I feel like, when I watch a movie, he wants to die, when Deadpool tells this Wolverine, yeah, my Logan's dead, and he's like, oh, and I feel like, does he see that as a way out? Because we learn, I'm not going to talk about what happens because that's the spoiler review, but something terrible happens, something that really, really changed this Wolverine's, existence differently than the other Wolverine we've known. He never had, the ending where he saved X-23. He doesn't even know who X-23 is, and I'm going to say X-23 because we all know she's in the movie because she's in the final trailer. And if you guys keep saying spoilers, that's a spoiler. I'm like, no, it's not. If it's in the trailer, it's not a spoiler, okay? Because it's something Marvel put out and they wanted you to know. And she was even, Daphne was even at the premiere, so don't get my ass on that. But, also what they did with Wolverine is, like, we saw so many different fight sequences with Wolverine that we've never seen before. We really saw the animal side of Wolverine, which I absolutely loved, how differently he fought than the Wolverine we know. He's using, there's points where he's using his claws as kind of like, what's the word for it, Like he's moved, dashing for enemies, he's like, rah, rah. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that feels like Wolverine from the comics. And there's some great cameos for Wolverine I'm not going to talk about, but those cameos I thought were the best use of the character. And this is the first time I feel like Hugh Jackman's getting a chance to play the Wolverine he's always wanted to play, Really, the Wolverine who has no filter, Wolverine who can say what he wants, as much bloody violence as he can do. And trust me, that Logan movie was very violent. But this movie is insanely violent. And it's so great to see Wolverine, kind of be that, I think, Logan was a defining movie in the genre. Defining movie. And, if you're going to this movie as well, thinking, oh, it's going to be Logan, you're going to be disappointed. Just go into this movie, I say, with no expectations. No expectations. Go in, saying, like, I can't believe I get to see Logan, Hugh Jackman's Logan Wolverine, on the screen one more time in a movie theater. Because, I was someone, when the last Logan movie came out, I wasn't able to go see it. Because, I was still in middle school when that Logan movie came out. I believe I was a freshman in high school, I hadn't gotten a job yet, I didn't have money to go in the movie to watch it. And, I always felt disappointed where, I was never really able to see Hugh Jackman on the screen as Wolverine again. This gave me that chance to see Wolverine, the most iconic X-Men character, on screen again in the perfect yellow suit. The yellow suit, I think is perfect. I will not change a single thing about that suit. So good. Now let's move on to the villain of the film, and that is Emma Corrin's Cassandra Nova. I didn't really know what to expect from Cassandra Nova because the only thing I remember about Cassandra Nova from the comics is when I read Astonishing X-Men. I read that and I'm like, oh, this character's really interesting. She's a bit, crazy in the comics, but she was a really good villain. And Emma Corrin, I think she had a really, really tough job, in the film. She had to be the bad guy above, having Ryan Reynolds' Deadpool there, having Hugh Jackman's Logan there, and also having all these cameos. And she was one of my favorite parts of the film. Emma Corrin was a terrific villain. You could tell by how crazy Cassandra Nova is that she is a threat. Just think, what if Charles Xavier was a bad guy? And think about how scary that would be. That is basically Cassandra Nova. She is basically running the Void. She controls the Void. Everything that happens in there, she's the ruler of the Void, basically. And if you know what the Void is, that's the place in Loki, where time kind of stands still, and there's all these different things in there from different universes. And, there's a really great speech in there from Wolverine that gives to Cassandra Nova saying, because at heart, she never knew her brother. She could never be saved by her brother because she never met him. She was been in the Void since she was little. Everything she remembers, she's been in the Void. So she's kind of grown up resenting Charles because she's met other Charleses who've had the life that maybe she thinks she should have had. And, Wolverine makes a great speech while they're fighting her and says, if Charles was here, he would have saved you. He would have. And he wouldn't matter who you are because he would have saved you and loved you. And, that got me in my core. I'm like, oh my gosh, Wolverine, not using his fists to fight, using his wars, using the things he's learned as an X-Men to kind of relate to Cassandra in a way, because in a lot of ways, Cassandra and Wolverine are a bit similar in the film. Cassandra, never knew anything. She was never able to be part of anyone's life. She had to be strong, and then she had become the villain. She really did become the villain in the Void. Wolverine, he's already looked at as the villain in the movie. And, if it wasn't for Charles Xavier, if we really think about it, Wolverine might have turned out like Cassandra Nova, become a villain, become a murdering psychopath. That's probably the way Wolverine was going. And, I think they kind of see each other in each other, if that makes sense. But great villain. Very, very, I think it's one of the best Deadpool villains, in my opinion, that they've done in the movies. It's so like the character. And Emma Corrin steals the show. I feel like anything I see Emma Corrin now, I'm gonna have to go see because she was absolutely terrific. She was the perfect villain for this Deadpool and Wolverine movie. Now we're going to talk about one more character, and that is Matthew McFadden's Paradox. I had a feeling Paradox was going to be the main villain. Paradox is a villain in the movie. He is not a hero. He's a guy, who really only cares about himself. He really only cares about himself. His whole thing is like he wants to speed up the dismantlement of Deadpool's universe because, he's got other things to do. He's like, I just want to get it done, the quicker the better, basically. And Deadpool's like, oh, no, I'm gonna beat your ass, Paradox, I'm gonna beat your ass. And Paradox is always trying to make him out to be the victim, when really, he's just trying to play everyone. He has some very funny lines. Matthew McFadden has some very funny lines. Him and Deadpool together, it's a lot of funny sequences between them. And, I felt like he was a very good, sub-villain. You have Cassandra Nova kind of as the big bad villain, but, then you have Matthew McFadden, is a villain, but he's kind of, on the side, he's kind of working things behind the scenes, he's in touch with, he's talking with Pyro, which we already know Pyro is in the movie since the first teaser trailer. So he's using Pyro, to try to and he's kind of tricked Cassandra Nova to thinking that she wants to stay there. That it's better for her to stay here than come back. And everyone in TVA knows how evil Cassandra Nova is, and he's kind of the big mastermind, and he's building this Time Ripper device that's gonna destroy the universe. And I thought Matthew McFadden, he was great in this. Greatness, I think you really think going to a movie called Deadpool and Wolverine, Deadpool and Wolverine are going to steal the show. No, every character had their moments. Every character had his moments. And, I'm going to say this quick thing about the cameos. I'm not going to say what they are, I'm just going to say this one thing. Every cameo in the film serves a purpose. It's not just putting them in there for no reason, It's not I'm going to say one that's not in there, just to say hypothetically, if they put, let's say, James McAvoy's Charles Xavier, what if he was in the film? If they put him in the film, I don't see the purpose that really puts into the film. Every cameo has a purpose. Every cameo adds to the story that they're trying to tell in the film. And also, the cameos I say, I thought they were the perfect cameos put in the film. This movie is not oversaturated with cameos as well, They really could have gone to every single actor in every single X-Men movie and put them in this film. And we would be happy, but I don't think that would have made a good film. Every person in this film served a purpose, and that's what I love about the cameos. What I really felt, that multiverse had not been working for Marvel. And they didn't really understand how to make it work. I think even DC didn't know how to make multiverse work. But Marvel did the impossible. And they made multiverse make sense. They also made multiverse good. They made a good multiversal movie, All the props to Doctor Strange, is an okay movie. But the cameos in there, it didn't really feel like a movie called Multiverse of Madness when I watched it. So that Doctor Strange movie, I've only watched about one time because I'm okay, it's good. And the cameos, the cameos were just in there for cameos. The cameos I felt like for that Doctor Strange movie never really served a purpose in the film. And that's been the thing. Why everyone's oh, you hate the multiverse. We hate the multiverse. I'm you might say you hate multiverse, but you look at how multiverse is done in this film. This is how you do it. It's done perfectly, I would not say the movie's perfect. There are some times when, the jokes did not land, and, that's okay. I wasn't expecting the best movie in the history. I just wanted a good time. A good time, And by the end of the movie, I was sad it was over because I wanted more. And that's what you got to do when you're making a movie. You want to make a movie where the audience is engaged in the movie for the entire time they are watching the film. They are watching it the entire time. Now, I do say that this is not my favorite movie of the year. I still think Dune 2. Dune 2 is still my favorite movie. This comes in a close second, though. This movie, you know, I'm going to go back see it probably a couple more times. I'm seeing it again on Saturday, you know. I'm super excited to see it again. I'm seeing it with some friends on Saturday, so I'm very excited to see that. And I have to give this movie a 9 out of 10. 9 out of 10, because it's not a perfect movie. You know, 10 out of 10 is for perfect movies. But this is a fun time. So, like, if you want to go feel the Marvel magic again, you want to go experience a cinematic event in the movie theaters, go see Deadpool and Wolverine. Because even if you're not a comics fan, not even if you're a Marvel fan, but just if you're a fan of any X-Men movie in the past, you are going to have a good time. But thank you guys so much for watching our non-spoiler review for Deadpool and Wolverine. Leave your comments down below, like the video, and subscribe to the channel. And I'll see you next time, guys. Peace.